All right, Jean-Luc, welcome back to the show.
Hey, thanks, Doug. Thanks for having me.
Let's see. Well, I think my levels are okay. I hear you pretty good. All right, so this is in conjunction with the Kickstarter for Dirtbags, and folks might remember Dirtbags on my secondary channel. I did a walkthrough of the quick start rules, and I got to Jean-Luc. I was able to had an opportunity for Jean-Luc to run the game for me. I mean, not for me specifically, but I got to play in the game that Jean-Luc ran at PAX Unplugged this past fall, currently on Kickstarter. And this is actually part 3 of a dungeon design process that Jean-Luc has gone through with Paladin. Who's the other two? Is it
We got so Tanner from Paladin
Tanner?
Pros and
Right.
Wes from DM Tales.
Excellent. So we're actually part 3. I've been brought in as cleanup, if you will, or
I like
sloppy
to think
thirds,
that you're putting the
however you want to look
finishing
at
touches. Like
it. But so you can see here we've got Ouija, which he has been using on the other 2 streams, and we are responsible for, I guess, what will be floor 3 and the grand finale. But first, Jean-Luc, please walk us through what's happened before us.
what
What am I
what on earth
walking into?
have we done? Sure, yeah. Let's go over it. We started off the crowdsourced one shot over on DM Tales channel with Wes, and together we came up with this high level idea of where this thing was located. We kind of set a swamp. We want to maybe have it be established in a ziggurat. We talked about who created this dungeon that our dirtbags are going through. It was a sort of ancient culture that is no longer alive. At the time, because of the dungeon sort of evolved from West Stream over to Tanner's, and maybe we'll again on this stream. It started off as a sort of monument that was meant for blood sacrifices, and had these sort of like healing plants. This sort of this flora that was used to create magic compounds or healing compounds. And then eventually, when we joined forces with Tanner's stream, we kind of converted this whole monument into like a vault, similar to the kinds of vaults you'll find in the Arctic, where we're kind of keeping all of our seeds, for posterity, right? And so this vault, was established on a sort of icy planet, and then eventually it was long forgotten, and that icy planet, turned tropical, and so we've still been sent here, I think, to retrieve, the seeds, and some of the things, kind of we know of some of the medicinal benefits of some of the plants that grow here, but that ultimately, the whole ziggurat itself has sort of been taken over by the plants that were stored as seeds in this vault. And so we've kind of done, floor 1, which kind of sees us entering the ziggurat. There's sort of an ossuary with bones. There's a quote unquote treasure room where some dirtbags who had been previously sent into the ziggurat were destroyed. So we'll find like a flamethrower and some things there. There is a disease, or a kind of a parasite or a disease that's kind of floating in the air that we'll see, the players turned to plants. And so we can actually encounter, some of the dirtbags that have been previously sent here that have been turned into plants. So we're kind of playing around with this kind of like, the ziggurat is like this greenhouse. Anything that's living here is kind of being turned into plants, and so we can kind of resist the disease as we're going through. There's some flooding mechanism, some digestive juices that are kind of like flowing from the bottom floor all the way to the top floor. And so on the second floor, we got kind of like a puzzle room with like a research lab and like a seedling nursery, and we're at a point now where we're trying to design, the final floor, the boss encounter, presumably a giant, carnivorous plant of some kind.
The Audrey
Uh,
3.
yeah, and we're gonna just try to figure out how we're gonna get from point A to point B to point C finally. So, yeah, it's been hectic, and I know that was a lot to take in, but I'm excited to kind of kick things off with you and your chat,
All
for
right. Well,
joining us, and
let's see what we
take it
can
from there.
do. Let's let me see. I'm just doing some work here.
Sure.
Did we use green already as a color? No, we didn't. Okay, good. All right. So now, do we have? Was it established? So we said that somewhere down deep here, there's some kind of the source of the waters.
So the waters that are climbing are actually the digestive juices of presumably this whole ziggurat, this carnivorous
Right.
plant,
Yeah.
which
So have
has
that wasn't
we
established
don't have
on
the
the second
source.
floor what it
No,
was.
yeah, we
Okay.
don't
So
know
we
like
need.
yeah.
Well, that's cool
Like for
because that's
instance, like
definitely
if there
something.
was a stomach, from which these things are, where and maybe it's overflowing, and therefore like the walls are secreting. Maybe the whole ziggurat itself is the stomach, and we're just simply being led up to the mouth. Um, Lots of different
You
options
do
here.
like your body horror spaces in the
I do, yeah, I know. I'm feeding off of the off of the Morkborg vibe here, but
All right, so
um,
some kind of stomach. I wonder. So, well, I guess So, I'm just thinking this through. The I guess was this stomach always here, and is it just the overflowing? Like I guess what was the original purpose of the ziggurat? Something has gone wrong, but what
yeah,
was
so
it
the
doing
original
before?
purpose of the ziggurat was that it was at least we figured out in the second stream that we settled on the fact that the whole ziggurat was this vault, this seed vault, and that when the planet went from being kind of this Arctic planet to being more of a tropical planet, that those seeds began to sprout, right?
I see.
And so this carnivorous plant has essentially taken over the entire ziggurat and is now using it to lure unsuspecting victims into its stomach to be digested.
Okay, I see.
Think of it
So,
as like a living monument, if you
so
will.
what if it was something like a pitcher plant or some kind of, as opposed to like a
That's exactly right.
human
You
kind of
got it.
stomach, but some
Yeah.
kind of.
Um,
So it's kind of got to be massive, but at the same time, is it? Is the idea that the carnivorous plant's done this on purpose, or that something is actually
I don't think that it's sentient,
overflow?
but I in the same way that like a Venus flytrap isn't sentient, but it will still mechanically close its jaws over top of a fly, simply because of the way that its biology was kind of evolved, right?
Right.
And so I suspect that it's something very similar.
Okay.
For all we know, this ziggurat slash carnivorous plant is tens of thousands of years old, and it's evolved over the course of a million years. Who knows?
Okay. So we got some kind of irritant or maybe a blockage causing the kind of mutantly, whatever the pitcher plant juices to overflow.
I like this question from Brian Smith here. It says, is there already something that would be there and turned into some monstrous plant already? And I think that it's a great idea. I think because this was sort of a vault, we've incorporated some technology, a little bit of technology, in the research lab and the seedling nursery. For instance, there's like floodlights, kind of UV lights for growing plants and stuff like that. And so it stands to reason that perhaps the carnivorous plant has maybe integrated into into the vault. So there could be like a sort of technological aspect to the final encounter. It's not just
So
a
yeah.
plant.
So I don't know about the. If you guys got so much to think, but the dirtbag theme and that the kind of evil corporations. Do we have that kind of angle where it's not just a? It feels like right now it's a very innocent, almost an innocent seed vault that's just gone south. But I feel like we
Sure,
could
yeah.
add
No, we
that.
were sent here to collect some things. I think we were trying to tie it into this
But
idea
I
that
wonder, is there kind of an aliens factor with that? Maybe
it
there
could
was a
be
lab
like
beneath the
where
lab
like maybe the
that's
corporate
doing.
echelon is expecting us to come back with something. Maybe they're expecting us to become to become infected and
And
in
also that
fact
maybe
we're the
whatever
prize.
they were doing is what caused the pitcher plant thing to go.
It absolutely could be, right? And the fact that we were not the first dirtbags sent here, could also mean just that, right? So um, I absolutely think that
Maybe that
from
they
a
were working on
storybook perspective,
weaponizing
yeah,
the
weaponizing
plant
the plant, the disease.
transformer, kind of whatever
Um,
disease plant. I don't even know, what would you call it? A vegiformer,
yeah, a veg. Yep, sounds about right.
uh, vegemorph,
Vegemorph. That's like anamorph, but
or
vegemorph.
polymorph. Vegemorph.
Yeah.
And so, kind of, something went wrong. How long ago was this supposed to have happened? Do we think there might be a scientist or two that's still trapped? Or are
No,
they
I
all
don't. I don't think
okay?
so. No, I think that there. I don't think there are any scientists here. And the research lab is really like a research lab, that was created by the ancient culture that was here when they established the vault, thousands of years ago. So I don't think that there's any echelon people here, other than the dirtbags that were sent here originally.
Okay.
Brian adds, we're not actually on a retrieval mission. We're food. Maybe we're being sent by the echelon to feed this thing. Like.
It feels like they could have just sent anybody, or just dropped, I don't know,
100%.
protein mush if they just needed to feed it.
Yeah, I agree. I think we're in there to either
How do they
retrieve something
know?
or to become
How do they know
detective.
what to retrieve if this thing is thousands of years old?
Yeah, correct. I mean, perhaps they found out about this culture one way or another, right? Maybe there are tablets. Maybe there's data that they want us to retrieve. Maybe the legend speaks of this ancient culture, and they finally found it. Like they've been maybe chasing after this vault for hundreds of years, perhaps.
Yeah. So the technology, the stuff in the vault, it's very alien to the dirtbag.
Correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
All right. Well, I think having the I'm reminded of some other adventures which I won't mention to spoil, but I think maybe if this layout is kind of like you're inside the plant, like we've kind of transitioned from the sort of I don't know, basement of the ziggurat, or I don't know, is floor 1 supposed to be the ground
floor 1
floor
is like the ground floor. Yeah, it's not
are we going
the
up, or are we
ground
going
floor.
down?
Yeah, we're going up. So ground floor, second floor, and then third floor.
I see. So maybe there's oh gosh, there's some kind of sphincter.
You know how I love my
to get
sphincters.
into, yeah.
Oh,
Well, I'm
geez.
trying to think if that's where the stuff's dripping down. It's got to be dripping down from
Yeah,
something.
that's right. Yeah, secreting from some sort of gland.
So maybe you got to. So maybe start making some room. I'm just gonna put some rooms.
Sure.
All right. So we got.
It could be that I would say I wouldn't put too many rooms up here. Maybe like 2 to 3 at the most. I think whereas the second floor I think was mostly, like, in terms functionally, was the research lab, like that was the last room is supposed to be the vault, right? So I think now I suspect we should maybe we put some of the organs, some of the plant's organs, in one or more of these rooms, right? So
okay, well, I'm just looking
like what
at
you're doing here.
Let's see, what's that? Okay, so I've got some pitcher plant.
Yeah, I'm looking at that now too. Yeah, digestive glands, for instance.
That's a little bit bigger.
So there could be like a room which, say, was the antechamber, or was like was maybe the vault itself has been broken down into different areas. The digestive glands in one area, the boss monster, with whipping vines in another.
I feel like they could, if we were to overlay the ziggurat, but inside the ziggurat, instead of there being, maybe the ziggurat's actually would be from the outside look like it's a bunch of floors high, but it's actually the body of this that takes up. So it's really kind of one big room, but it's got some extra spaces.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's kind of what I meant. It's just like, it's not like multiple rooms, but we could, for the sake of a quote unquote dungeon, we could treat it that way, right?
And then the other thing, so I guess, there's a couple of interesting things, and it might be good, but at the top of the ziggurat, does this plant need to see the sun? Would the top of the ziggurat have this kind of?
I love that idea. Yeah. I think maybe there is I wouldn't say like a skylight, but it could be that, like some of the stones have been pushed out of the way. The plants themselves have started to disassemble the ceiling, so we could have an element of crumbling stone, falling stone that like as a hazard that we could avoid. I think sunlight should absolutely be pouring in as well.
Yeah, the interesting thing is here, it does a couple of interesting things. It does give it, if you want to have it, there is a secondary way in, which actually goes right to the end. But it's with all the slipperiness and stuff, it feels like coming that way is extraordinarily difficult. Actually, coming up seems like it'd be pretty slippery too. So we got I suppose, have we talked about that they brought anything with them? Were they at all aware that they might need to kind of reverse spelunk? Because up here, it's all organic, and most likely all this stuff in the stomach area is all slippery to engage things.
Oh, are you
supposed
thinking
to funnel
that
you.
are you thinking so are you thinking that we're trying to just simply climb out of this
Well, I
thing to
imagine
reach
that
the
maybe.
outside, or
Okay, well, there's two things. No, if you happen to come in from the outside, it's very slippery. Then if you're coming up from the bottom, not only is it slippery, but everything is literally trying to funnel you down, and you're trying to go up against it.
yeah. So
I imagine that
so
maybe
one of the things I
the
didn't
background would
imagine
be
was that, so right, this is not what I had in mind, if this is what you're getting at, right?
a little bit that this has some, that this is kind of being giant. It has some height to it, but it's
Sure.
concealed in part of the ziggurat itself.
Sure. Yeah. The way I imagined it is that there would be a room on the third floor with that was consumed by the vast majority of it was like a carnivorous plant.
Okay, so you don't want to have them go inside it. We just want to have them.
Yeah, I think they're going to be fighting this thing. I don't know what the chat thinks. If they would prefer for us to be climbing into or out of this thing, or whether we should just be fighting. Again, like I was thinking, like a vine whipping, kind of, toothy plant of some kind.
All right, let me see. Well, we have the. Where's I could get a picture of the otter too, because that is
Yeah,
basically.
fight a thing, right? Yeah, I appreciate that, Brian.
Let's see. Where's the good picture?
Yeah, exactly. Kind of like the whole like plant versus zombie. This is like the Feed Me Seymour plant from.
Yeah, yep. That's exactly it. That's her name in the movie is the otter too. All right.
That's it. That's exactly what we're looking for.
Okay. And what, the juices are just draining out, just kind of along. So we don't.
Yeah,
need
like that's what I'm saying. I'm imagining that the digestive juices are really there to maybe soften up its prey, right? And or to kind of funnel them up to the third floor to be consumed.
Okay,
Proper.
so maybe from the secret. All right, so we got the secret labs maybe room, and then that there's some kind of tubing, and there's some sort of observation.
Yeah, I like the digestive glands. Perhaps like I think there needs to be a source. Like the digestive juices probably need a source.
Control room. So then there's some maybe tubing and other plumbing leads from there into an observation room, which has now become overgrown by the. Did anyone come up with a name for the plant yet?
No, not yet.
I thought it's called capital H
Maybe
plants.
Schraderer wants to take a stab at it.
Okay.
So we had a spore. We had spores near the stream. I don't remember what they did to us. Yeah, the spores are supposed to have the players, if they succumb to the spores, they become infected and then start to turn into the plants themselves.
Okay, so obviously the air should be full of spores.
Yes.
All right, so I'm gonna say at the let me make some rooms here. So we got the. Oops. Come on, Ouija. I hate when you do that. Okay. So we've got the all right control room. Gonna put some control room. All right, so there's inoperable tech, inoperable comms and media tech. We have broken access window to I guess I don't know, call it observation room. Air is thick with spores. I wonder if it would be just kind of fun if there's some kind of hidden emergency mechanism to turn on some kind of
Ventilation or some
ventilation.
kind.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that idea a lot. Or maybe the ceiling is kind of crumbling and they could shoot it open, and it can do maybe two things. One, it can clear the room of the spores, but also like have the ceiling come down onto the plant itself, perhaps to either damage it or to maybe to stun it for a round or something like that.
And we could put that in the observation room, which is where the plant actually is.
Yeah.
Observation room. So there is a partially broken, I'm just going to put in quotes, kind of skylight.
Yep.
Plant
If you guys have more
here.
ideas for kind of monster or boss mechanics here,
Full of
environmental
spores.
mechanics or
So
special
besides the
moves.
spores, what other effects have we had here?
That's basically it. Now, when you become a plant, you ultimately become a zombie plant. So you'll be turning into a plant over time. I'm trying to see if I can go look at the notes here. We
Yeah,
haven't
because I'm
really
wondering
come.
if in terms of what the boss monster could do, because maybe some of those effects can come back but stronger. Like it just has some kind of, I mean, it zombies. Is it shown any kind of intelligence? Like the Audrey 2 actually talks and has goals and things like that. Famously sings songs. In the movie,
I'm not sure.
obviously,
No, we
we don't
haven't. We
have any of
haven't.
that.
We haven't decided what kind of zombies this is going to be. So it's entirely up to you, Todd, and in the chat, what you guys think. How these zombies should act.
I'm not sure. It
I
might be.
like
I
the
mean, it's
idea of
one.
them
It's a
being
fun thing that
like
maybe the fan, the
semi-conscious,
the
with
plant
just
kind of they get some sort of I don't know. Even if you wanted to, I mean, I feel like for Dirtbags, it's appropriate if you even wanted to use the kind of feed me bit. Whereas they're one of the things that happens when they're sort of getting plantified is they feel that urge to feed the plant.
yeah, I love that, and or to nurture it, perhaps, to care for it, to clean it, to protect it. So I would absolutely want to put more of these kinds of. We had like on the first floor, we had these kind of like birthing pods, or incubation pods, where some of these dirt bags had kind of been wrapped in cocoons. Um, so yeah, I think we could definitely have more of those pods there, or maybe a zombie or two tending to the plant.
Maybe that's where some of the old Dirtbags are.
Yeah, maybe a couple of them actually made their way, all the way here.
And they could still use their weapons.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I like this idea too. So Trader adds that that those zombie dirtbags could act as an extension of the plant. It's very cool. Says kind of like the plant is controlling them to bring the food, the dirtbags, the PCs that is, to the plant, right?
Yep, makes sense.
Again, it's all sort of a kind of an ascending funnel, right? Intended to lead the dirtbags to the boss monster. I also think we need to have. I'm gonna just add another
Yeah, go for it.
box here. While you're doing that, I think we gotta have like a prize of some kind, right? Like like what are they here to retrieve, right? Or maybe like an objective.
I
Like
mean,
what?
is this something where they want to, where there somebody wants the plant itself, or some kind of sapling or seedling?
Yeah, yeah. I think again, I like to think that perhaps that there are out of the seeds that are here, I suspect that like the seeds themselves is what the echelon is after, and maybe there's could it be that like maybe part of defeating the plant could be sort of like a like could you imagine if there were like cryogenic chambers like in the vault, and like that were still like operating, for instance, like using sunlight, as a means of power to maintain, like, so it could be that there's like a wall because again it's a vault, right? And there's supposed to be all these seeds in there. Presumably that means that there are like in the vault you usually have like safety deposit boxes of some kind, and maybe
Okay.
they used to be protected by backup power and things like cryogenic chambers, and many of them have failed, but maybe some of them are still working. So it could just be like a race against time, like the players have got to get to these seeds before the boss destroys them, um, etc., etc.
Maybe
Or maybe
the
they have to defeat the boss in order to get access to those safety deposit boxes.
maybe the plant grew out of its seed pod and obstructs the door
Yeah, to the vault or something like that, or
to the rest of the seed, rest of the vault. And we can put that the access to the vault is normally through that observation room.
and maybe to entice the players, we can say that for maybe for each of the pods, for each of the for n number of seeds, for n number of seeds they retrieve, they get paid a bonus, right? Because I think a big part of enticing dirtbags to do anything successfully is a reward of some kind, right? Credits, maybe there's a bonus incentive for, right, not just kills, right? Because you get a stipend if you got, say, n number of confirmed kills, but maybe n number of seeds you come back with, or seedlings perhaps, then you can get a bonus there too.
Critter says, I just keep getting the feeling, and in the end, the item we are retrieving is going to be a metal tube with something we think is super important, but ends up being a rare tea leaf. It's used in a single. Yes, they take it back and someone.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. This is for the CEO of of one of these corporate conglomerates. It's just for one cup of tea.
I think that's a grand idea. A very dirtbag like ending.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, so we've got a couple rooms here. We have the sort of the more secret lab, control room, the observation room, and then the seed vault. And then really the control and observation room, almost one room, pretty much, because they're kind of connected through some kind of big, used to be glass or see-through kind of thing that's broken. Maybe some of the outer tendrils of the plant are in there. Obviously, we have the spores. We got the dirt bags, the converted dirt bag plants.
I like the control rooms and the observation room. I don't think we need the secret lab.
Okay.
If I'm being honest, like I think, like because it was a vault, I don't think that there's going to be anything there that's going to have been sort of there to weaponize. I think everything, like even if say there were like toxic plants that they were cultivating or something like that, then it's really just the seed that were kept in the vault, nothing else. So I don't think that would like thematically is necessary.
Oops, I got rid of the wrong thing. Get rid of that.
And so I think like the control room, observation room, and the vault are three final rooms basically. And then I think we could throw in, again, we mentioned like the source of the digestive juices. I think we could throw some digestive glands like we had in the pitcher plant somewhere. That maybe we need to to destroy or get past in order to get
I
to
think that
the
ends up being
objective.
part of the plant monster.
Okay,
No,
it
and maybe
absolutely
it's. I don't
absolutely
know if
could.
you want to make it because depending on I don't know because in our we didn't do that. But if there's any kind of not necessarily phases, but different aspects of the thing that you can target.
I like doing phases for a boss fight, and it doesn't have to be like you brought it down to 0 HP and so and it transforms, but it could just be that it's got say 50 HP, worth of health, and then when it gets to say 75, 50, and 25% HP, like it develops new behaviors, right? It goes to like survival mode.
Yeah, and you can also, as you chunk those pieces away, you could talk about blowing up one of the glands or something that then either causes something or takes
Yeah, I
away the
like that a
ability
lot.
for the.
Yeah, could you imagine it's like for instance like after 75, after like when it's at 75% HP, maybe like some of the glands begin to swell, and if you don't do anything to stop it, then they'll eventually burst and kind of cover everyone in digestive juices, maybe ruining armor or jamming your gun because it's caustic and causing the metal to rust. um, Lots of different options there.
Cool.
We can say, for instance, like phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, maybe. Oops. Is you guys aligned with doing these phases?
Yeah, that's what works. Maybe phase 1 can be the spore. It releases a very concentrated blast of spores.
Yeah. Do we want to have like these kinds of long, sort of like viney tendrils?
That could be
maybe
kind of a
pull people
constant,
in.
right? That can just be something
Yeah.
it always can do.
Yep. Let's add that as so like
Standard.
yeah,
Maybe it has
living
range, like
vines,
like
tendrils.
range to near or whatever, maybe.
Yep, range near. I like that. Range near. Pull people in. It also has its toothy mouth, right? So I'll just toothy mouth, right? Slash a kind of bite attack. Um, so
I'll just
yeah, concentration. So blast of spores. The second we said maybe like we said maybe we can have the digestive glands like what was I just saying? They were
they were
not
swelling.
swelling.
So
Yeah,
do you
that's
want
what.
to so that maybe if you want to do a clock, like an actual clock, like so many turns, or
Yep. Yeah, I'm not sure. How do we want to handle these phases? What do you guys think?
I think, like you mentioned, damage
Yeah.
is fine, or turns.
So
I don't know. What do you in the other dirtbag stuff that you have so far? Do you use any kind of? Have you used any sort of phasing approach on
no,
any kind of
no,
bosses?
no, not like that. No, it's mostly
Okay.
just kind of static, boss fights. They've got 2 or 3 attacks and some mobs, and so it's more of like a champion than it is like a real like major boss fight. So I think this is going to be the first Dirtbags, big bad boss that players are kind of going up against.
I think given that at least for the glands part that it's swelling to burst, it makes sense. Damage makes sense that's the kind of time where it's taking damage, swelling.
Like
And
say
then for the
corrosive
third
juices,
phase,
I was saying that can cause firearms to malfunctions on single ones instead of 2, right? So you need 2 ones to malfunction usually, but maybe unless maybe if you got to use an action to clean off your firearm, otherwise you're malfunctioning on just one,
sure.
something like that. Yep.
Well, you're using all D6 dice in this game.
It's all D6, brother.
All right, well, D6 rounds. And then the third phase.
I would say probably 1d3.
Oh, okay.
Just because damage, it's combat very rarely goes 6 rounds. Like it's so fast paced. Like even if you have like 20, 30 HP, like that's why I think this it's probably going to have close to maybe 40 to 50 HP. Yeah. It means that, let's think about it. With 40 HP, that means you need 40 hits to kill. Not take into account hit multipliers. There's a 50% chance to hit per die. So that means we would need 80 rounds of ammunition in order to hit 40 times on average, right? And that's not counting the fact that you might have hit multipliers, you might have explosives, you might have yeah, this some sort of special attack or something like that. So, because a grenade, for instance, could do like 1d6 hits. So you could unload, a single clip from a light machine gun and deal 5 hits, and throw a grenade for another 6. You could do like 11 hits in a round. Now it's unlikely, but it's like 40 to 50 HP maybe is kind of the range we're working with.
All right. Well,
I'll say 50 for now, and then we can maybe play test it.
And then I'm not sure what the last
phase.
I mean, maybe if any of it's going to be an interesting fight because there's going to be, I can see different strategies with people coming in and wanting to take out the other dirtbags first, or whether any of the dirtbags are there, but maybe any vegiformed things that are still surviving, I don't know, nearby come running in.
Yeah, so I was thinking of a couple things. So yeah, I was thinking mobs, right? Like adding mobs to the fight to make it more difficult. And so I was thinking maybe the vines could open up, more of the safety deposit boxes, and maybe smaller plants could attack. It could also regurgitate, dirtbags. Plant zombies. What else? Lots of options, honestly. It could spit. It could start to tear down its walls, causing the room to collapse in on itself with a
like
timer.
That one. It fits in with the fact that it's dying.
Yeah. So pull the room in and cause it to collapse, and maybe like 1d3 plus two rounds or something like that.
Another idea from Trader, safety deposit box. One of the zombies could have a key for it. It's another.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. It's just like a
special one.
Maybe we find a key somewhere in the lab or something like that. Like maybe there was a hidden. I'm not sure, or maybe that's on one of the because I think that in the boss fight there's probably going to be mobs like like in the room with it.
Well, we have the dirtbags, the last dirtbag team. The survivors last dirtbag team are in that room, the observation room.
I see. Yeah. So perfect. So maybe but they've been turned to plants, right?
Right.
Yeah.
They're against
so I think maybe
players.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe we could say that one of the plant dirtbags, the plant zombies, has maybe found like an access card that can be used to open the safety deposit boxes after the fact. Yeah, I love that.
Okay.
And we said that we go from phase to phase by taking damage.
I think it works because all these things seem to be increasing desperation.
Yeah, I totally agree.
And its body starting to come apart.
Yeah, I'm gonna say, so maybe we go from phase one, we enter phase, maybe it's for every 10 HP, something like that. Phase one at 40 HP, phase two at 30 HP, and then phase three at 20 HP, something like that.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'm not worried about the specific numbers.
Yeah, I agree, but it's good. And I like the idea of introducing, for instance, like how phase three introduces like a new environmental effect, right? Do we want to maybe what do you like? Maybe I'm trying to think, like, to make combat interesting. Oftentimes what we do is we introduce different sort of elements, right? Like, for instance, like an environmental effect is one thing. Adding like a height. For instance, could it be that like maybe the floor begins to crumble, or like so the room itself changes in a way that would cause the dirtbags to need to maybe react and move, right? Maybe
Definitely when those digestive glands or the corrosive juices explode, it's a good opportunity to change the room if you want to have the room.
Yeah, I think so. Maybe after they explode, it floods the room, and so now there's only specific say quote unquote squares or spaces that the players can stand in, right? Like platforms or something like that.
Trader says this is where the GM needs to play some kick-ass 80s metal. Yeah, you need to really play some metal pretty much the entire way through.
We'll say rearrange the room after the glands burst. Let's see, platforms. Let's see, platforms, floating tables or whatever become, the only safe haven from the corrosive juices. Something like that. I don't know. What do you think, Todd?
I mean, that's I mean, there are a lot of different things you can do with it, but I think from ease of running, probably something like that is easier to handle than something like the floor dropping or some other thing that you could be more crazy with. This area is right above some other area on the other floor.
Yeah.
Now it's opened up, but that's a pain to
GM. I agree.
To GM, or at least to describe and kind of see how it works. Whereas being able to just highlight a number of spaces and saying like after the explosion, like these are the only spaces that are viable, I think is relatively easy. And then
one of the things,
some kind of actions to hop up on whatever they need to get up on.
One of the things I just realized, right? We're thinking that these are dirtbags, right? But dirtbags have their prisoner identification collars around their necks, which also have explosives in them. Could that be a hazard of some kind? Like if you, maybe like, I know this is going to sound crazy.
I mean, it would be a great timer, but the only problem is how do you communicate that timer to the dirtbag?
Yeah, you can't really. I mean, there is a display on on those prisoner identification collars that's supposed to display the number of years, but you could say, for instance, show that it's like malfunctioning. The other thing is that like you could do something crazy, for instance, like when you're shooting these things, like if you roll a 6, on your success, like you happen to hit the collar and it explodes, and it could set off like a chain reaction or something like that.
I mean, you definitely could. I mean, I could see how the plants little the veggie transformation kind of causes it to malfunction in terms of not exploding.
Yeah.
But that obviously explosives are still there.
I'll make a note of that. Anyway, I think it's a neat idea.
But yeah, it's interesting. I guess it's just playing with the kind of the how often do you want to anticipate that? Because if presumably if one of those explodes, would that cause a chain reaction on all? Because they're all in some kind of enclosed space. So one of those things goes off.
Yeah, what happens? It certainly could. Well, I think that offers the players like it's a conundrum, right? I think that means that they got to try to find some way to split them up, or to get them as close to the plant as possible, right? In order to to overcome that challenge, right? And again, I think by having it explode on like say a 6, it means that like a player couldn't say necessarily take like an aimed shot, you know, um, because it would just kind of be luck whether it hits the explosive or not, something like that.
Yeah, and yes, I think the other thing maybe we should put a note in there. We probably want to give them the facility that if they use an action to specifically aim away from that they can, or like an action, one of their action dice or whatever that they can
All
do,
right, to avoid it.
avoid
Yeah,
it.
yeah. So they can take an action to avoid shooting it. I like that, but they can't take an action to target it, perhaps.
Yeah, I just want to get them once they
Or is that
once
too
you
punishing?
realize that that's a thing. I
Yeah,
mean, I would give them an action to do both, right? It's either going to randomly
yeah.
happen, but they can use an action to try to either do it or
Take an action to
specifically hit it or
avoid
not. Aiming
shooting
is one
it,
of those things in a lot
or
of games.
target
Is
it.
kind of D and
Yeah.
D struggles with that too. Like we're not
Yep.
mostly targeting, but then it's clear in some options that there's something
Yeah.
clear you want to
Maybe
target.
maybe we could say that they have to roll with disadvantage to to hit it. It's more difficult, for instance. But it's a neat idea. I like having that be like a possible threat that they got to face. It's kind of like, I don't know if you play Star Trek, but when there's like a room full of banelings or something like that, they just come running at you. As soon as you hit them, they just explode.
I mean, I mean, they have them tons of games. I don't know the Star Trek. Is that like a TTRPG or is it a video game?
Yeah, it's an RTS, StarCraft.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
No, StarCraft. Oh, those. Sorry, I thought you said Star Trek. StarCraft. Yeah, yeah.
I may have said
It's
Star
good.
Trek. I meant Star. Now I was able to say Star Wars. StarCraft.
StarCraft. Yeah, for sure.
Too many
Or
stars.
like what are those? The head things in Half-Life 2
Yeah,
and
the head crabs. Yeah.
head crabs. Lots of fun stuff. Okay, so what we got. I don't know what's the so. Do you want to talk about what happens afterwards? 'Cause I feel like there's a lot. I feel like there's quite a bit going on. I
Yeah,
don't
I
know if
think
you
we've
feel
got
like
enough going on here. Maybe we go
Monster
back over
needs
these
more.
rooms. So, for instance, like control rooms, interoperable comms, and media tech. Okay, like because we've talked about the boss quite a bit, we didn't really talk about this control room and what you think the purpose is. Like, I'm imagining that this vault was like climate controlled. Is that what we're kind of referring to? Right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that if you imagine that they have to come in and they maybe have to run tests and things on the different, to keep checking viability if they were going to come periodically and make sure the seeds are viable. Maybe there's in that
Okay.
observation room, maybe there's some stuff in there like grow lights and things to try to.
Well, we have that already through the
Oh, you do?
seedling nursery and the research lab on the
Oh, okay.
first,
Well,
on the,
maybe we
sorry, on
don't
the
need that.
second floor.
Well,
But
I'm not
I
sure
do like
then.
the idea of climate control. To make
Yeah.
sure that it's at a very specific temperature.
So we don't really need whatever we can be environmental.
Or environmental control room. Yeah, I like that too.
So it's-
Maybe maybe there's something in the control room that they could use to maybe weaken the plant,
I don't
something
know
like
what would
that.
that. I think being able to clear the spores is a good thing, and yeah, there could be
Yep.
something else in there as well.
Hidden mechanism to activate. Activating the emergency ventilation will be good. Where are the spores located? Are the
I just assume they're
spores?
all through the air. They're just it's
Oh,
just the
so
air is
there,
just filled
there are spores all over the third floor. Like it's just
all
kind of
over the
like
third
a
floor. But
haze of
if they
spore.
can find the mechanism, they can ventilate the floor and get rid of the
Can we add
spore.
that somewhere? Like just to like that there's kind of like a persistent effect.
I think I had it listed in both rooms, but yeah, we could put as a
Okay, perfect. Oh yeah, air is
air is
okay,
thick
I
as
see it.
spores, the air is full of spores.
Yeah, thick. Spores, perfect. Okay, then we don't need to do that. I'm wondering, we probably need, I don't think we, so in floor 1, there's a room that has got a bunch of, there's essentially a spore room, right? Where I think it's probably the first time the players encounter the spores. Now, the fact that the third floor is filled with them means that we probably need some sort of, like we're not going to be, the player's not going to be resisting against those spores every 2 minutes, right? Like we may want to have like a clock or a timer that says like, that they only need to check whenever they change rooms or take a breather or something like that.
Oh, on the third floor, you mean?
Yeah, on the third floor. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just reading. Let me just read. So there's hallucinating effects. Okay, air Lucchese. Players in the plants. Okay. Are they supposed to be wearing environmental suits? Is this clearly a fully
No.
alien place? Okay, so they are not.
No. But it doesn't mean that we can't have an environmental suit. Maybe one of the old dirtbags had it. Like maybe they
Are the
find it.
aliens humanoid? Could there be some alien environmental suits? It makes sense in this climate control room that there might be something like that.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, 100%. Maybe what are the I know they're not called antechambers, but like before there's like the double doors that you might have to go through like and they kind of like will cleanse you before you go in and out of spaceships to prevent particulates and disease from getting on and contaminating. Like they're like anti-contamination rooms. Like maybe that's what we have instead of like maybe we could either the observation room, we could combine the observation room with that, or have another room where there's what do they call those, decontamination rooms maybe? And maybe there's you want to just rename this one to decontamination room? Yeah, and then we could have that suit in there. Maybe there's just one suit.
Just one?
Well, maybe 1D, 1D2. I mean, we don't want them all to survive, do we?
Well, you're generous. Them getting this. I mean, the thing is, here in this room, this is also where the plant is. So, if they
the plant is in the decontamination room. I'm sorry, I didn't realize.
Yeah. It's. I mean, I think it's. I mean, that's kind of what we had. Let me. I'm
okay adding a decontamination room between the climate control and the vault. Right.
We kind of had something. Let me see, like.
Oh, sorry, I did not mean to do that.
Oops. Oops. Terrible. It really kind of the map is. You can do something like this. The plant is basically here. This.
Okay. See, now I see what you're trying to do. So I had imagined that you first end up in the control room, and then there maybe is like a decontamination room between the control room and the vault, and the plant was in the vault, not the observation room. Or that's kind of
the plant's kind of blocking, like it's grown.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah,
it's grown out like that.
Do we want to have like just a separate?
I mean, it definitely changes to have it in here. There's, I mean, so a couple of things. If you put it in the vault, there's probably less things for it to interact with, because here you can have all kinds of tables and kind of junk. Whereas I imagine here it's just all going to be whatever. But what having the fight in the vault you can play with is the fact that what do you do with missed shots? Because you're destroying. You can have that any shot that misses the plant is potentially destroying seed pods. And if the scoring is basically based on how many seed pods they're able to save, then that adds another wrinkle also to the exploding juices, which will also destroy a whole bunch. So it's kind of different ways of doing the same. It's just a matter of what you want to.
Well, what do you think? I'll turn over to you, Todd. I think you got a.
I think there are good. I think either one. I don't really have. I can't say that one appeals to me so much more than the other. They're just sort of different.
I'd like you to make an executive decision.
Make an executive decision. Right, let me just agree. All right, so if let's just come in here, and let's say this is the door coming from, and then we have one of these little hallways which does allow us, if we want to have some kind of puzzling element of how do they get through the decontamination. And there could also be kind of, I'm just putting little things like if there's little shower heads or things. I don't know. There's kind of like a fun, potentially trap sort of thing here.
Yeah.
Especially if these things are malfunctioning and they don't.
Again, to maybe just to soften them up, you know, before going into the vault a little bit.
Okay, and then, oops, and then let's see how can I. Oh, there we go. Let's move this. No. Oh, I love the stuff they have in here, but they don't always make it work right. No, that's not what I wanted to do. I want you to move to the side, Ouija. Why are you? Oh, Ouija. Oh, no, you're doing this again. Where I see that they give you these bars.
I think you have to use the middle mouse button.
Oh, there you go. Okay, that does work. All right, great. And then we've got. So let's see the vaults, which I don't know if you want to make it a big room.
Yeah, make it big enough.
And then maybe there's these. Maybe this wall full of the pods. And there could be some other stuff if you want. I don't know if you want to have some other equipment. And then basically the plant is going to be.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that. So the kind of the fun element is that you could have something where on misses, there's some chance you could have on ones again that you're destroying seed pods, which then you could start with some number of seed pods, maybe even roll randomly. There are at the beginning of the battle, you know, there's 66 surviving seed pods. Every time they roll a 1 on attacks, they destroy 1d6 seed pods.
I just made that note here above. I know it's not clean. Well, I will kind of clean all those notes up after the fact, but that's fine. Cool. So then we probably then want to put, so we can see, we got the seed vault. So we can move all the notes that we have in the in the decontamination room to the seed vault, if that's the case. I'll do that now. And then we could come up with maybe kind of a quirky environmental puzzle, puzzle or hazard.
Yeah, I just think that the one that these things maybe don't fire correctly, and also that the very stuff they're firing is contaminated because it's
so imagine if a player was contaminated with these spores. Could it be that if they get to this contamination room, they could actually use it to cleanse themselves?
I mean, I suppose. I mean, however you want to do it.
Because a player may become a player might get sick. Might become infected on, say, the first floor in the spore room. And giving the players an opportunity to save their friend by bringing it up to the contamination room should be super helpful, because you don't just turn right away. You turn over time. Every time you exert yourself or take a breather, the disease progresses. So in this case, it'll give them a fighting chance, a little bit. So maybe
I think it's really good. I would have it that they have to fix. There's some element they have to fix first.
I love that. Okay, let's do that.
You could even have that there's something on another floor. I don't know if there's any other
exactly. Once fixed,
it
can be used to cleanse the spores off of
there's anything on the second floor, maybe, or
reset or clear the disease from the spores. I love that. And then obviously, I don't think we need to make this complicated. It could simply be that there's a wrench, like in the research lab that's required, or like a maybe they do find a,
Well, I was thinking
like
if
the
there's some
shower
kind of
head.
breaker. We don't have any engineer. We haven't run across any engineering sections,
No,
right?
no, there is no engineering room. But oh, actually, we never finished. I just realized we never finished room 3 on floor 2, and we it was supposed to be a monastery slash ritualistic space, but given what we're looking for, I'm thinking that maybe this is our mechanical room.
Well, it makes sense.
Like,
The elevator's there, and you could have.
so let's rename this to room 3, and we'll call this. Well, let's just rename this to mechanical room. I think we can just strip out this monastery and stick something here. Maybe there's a breaker system that needs to be reset in order to get the contamination, or maybe to get the elevator working.
Yeah, I mean, you can have a few, right? So that they have to choose
Yeah,
to go. I feel
exactly.
like they need to go above and beyond a little bit. It's not just they flip one breaker and everything comes on, but that they can choose.
Yeah,
Maybe there's only so many they can turn on, and they have to decide. And one of those
yeah.
is the
I like
decontamination.
that. Yeah. And so depending on what they, and maybe so maybe like one breaker gets the elevator working, one breaker, maybe fixes the decontamination room, and like another breaker, starts to like feed the plant, like makes it stronger, like, accidentally.
I was just saying, if you had something where you have different symbols, because obviously they're
Yep.
supposed to be kind of alien language, but we can have some
Sure.
repeating symbols that can apply, that can kind of, I guess, point towards
Yeah.
different systems.
Okay. Okay. We'll say maybe like maybe there's like five breakers. Like we can say elevator. We can decontamination room. Maybe maybe the vault, right? Maybe if you like the vault will. Did I misspell decontamination?
No, I think it would be fun, and just in a kind of a thing, if the thing in the vault actually turns it off, which might help in the boss fight, but kills all the. Like, I like the idea that they have only so many breakers and only a vague sense of what they'll do.
Yeah, exactly. I think
And the
the
vault one
vault.
will probably hurt the boss, make it weaker, but then it's also shut down all the seed pods, so they lose their.
Yeah.
Trigger asks,
So we can.
wonders about in the decon room if there's a body of a maintenance
Boss.
worker with his tools. I mean, I like that kind of stuff, but I don't know. Part of me thinks it's just too easy if you, and it's just there's not really much to it if you put it in the room with it. Like, I like the idea that maybe there's a maintenance worker that's been vegemated or whatever somewhere, and you can potentially get the tools from there, and then you can find a use for those tools in various places, including the decontamination room, as opposed to just having the thing right next to the. Here's the puzzle where you need a wrench, and here's the wrench right next to the puzzle. Just seems a little bit.
Okay, so I think that here's what I'm thinking. We've got 5 breakers, and you can only turn on 3 of them.
Yeah,
And
maybe if you don't
so,
do the elevator, you could still go down, but then it's like a hazardy kind of. You could fall, take damage.
yeah, exactly. So 5 breakers, pick 3. So elevator, go up safely. Decontamination room, in case you're sick. Vault will hurt the boss. The research lab, maybe access special item, and then the climate control room, vent the room, vent the spores.
Yeah.
And so pick
maybe
3.
just vent them from everywhere, like clear. If
Yeah, vent the spores, from everywhere. And if you try to do more than 3, like it resets, resets them all.
Are they using lighting? Is there? Are they using headlamps, or is it?
They might, yeah.
Okay.
It doesn't say.
Okay.
You'd find. I think Tanner asked me the same question. I think we did have gas masks. I forget.
One
I
thing
thought,
that so at ShireCon, Yeah, with ShireCon last year, got to play Traveler, and we did a Traveler. I was running through it. It was a Traveler scenario. It was basically a dungeon crawl. But
Sure.
one of the interesting mechanics that they had was that we were not on an Earth-like place. We were wearing environmental suits.
Yep.
And every time we got hurt or we did something that caused damage, we were tearing, or I don't know if it was definitely tearing or potentially tearing our environmental suit. And we also had some tape that we could use to fix the suit, but we only had a certain amount of the tape.
That's
And
funny.
this, I feel like, would be a cool use for that. Something similar
Like a gas mask,
if you wanted to.
You mean?
Or just some kind of environmental protection, but it's degrading all the time and you're trying to fix it, or it's going bad because you're getting into scrapes and things are attacking you. Right.
Yeah.
It's not just like, oh, I've got the gas mask. And because the nice thing with the environmental suit, it's not just like a piece of kit that you just activate and then it's like, well, I got the gas mask on, so I'm immune. It's like every time you're doing something in the dungeon and something happens, like you just potentially trip and fall. It doesn't have to be an enemy. You do something, it's like, oh shoot, did I tear my suit? And if I tore my suit,
I think we
I got to
had
try to figure out a way to repair it.
So I like the direction. Yeah, I like that. I like what you're saying. I don't think the echelon would give them environmental suits, if I'm being completely honest. But more importantly, I think we had talked about gas masks and that the zombies were trying to rip their masks off constantly.
Or maybe it could be that there's some kind of almost like a scuba system where they've got some kind of something that's
oxygen,
bulkier,
oxygen tank,
where
or
there's
something like
more
that.
things that could go wrong, like some kind of tank that's connected by tubes, and so you could have rips in the tubes, the tank, different things go on.
Yeah, I do have a note here in the plant pod incubation room that says the zombies try to remove the players' masks. I don't know where else we've mentioned that the players have masks or whether they start with them.
Yeah, and the other thing too is I guess it's depending on what you
have. Dirtbags are given masks as part of the mission, and plants people try to rip them off. That was a note that we added.
Know? Is it? I mean, I guess they don't have to, but
no,
they somehow know.
Well, it's because I think they were trying to use they were trying to get like their tendrily fingers like into their throats and eyes and nostrils.
They're aiming for eyes and nostrils. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, we gave them tendrils as their attack.
I think the one nice thing is if you make them bulkier, then there's different things that go wrong, and also different ways that they can be repaired.
Yeah. Like I totally agree. If
they have tanks, maybe you could share tanks, but then two dirtbags have to be close to each other because they're sharing, one, or if they've ripped a tube,
I think it drives more agency. Somewhere. I also like the idea that, I mean, if it is, gas masks and having filters could also be really cool too. So I think there's pros and cons to doing it both ways. I'm going to make a note of it in either case. We'll say maybe dirtbags are provided oxygen tanks and environmental suits instead of masks, and that these need to be maintained, defended, or risk puncturing. And then you added that we could potentially fix these with tapes and stuff like that, right? I like that idea a lot.
I mean, it definitely, and especially it also gives things that could be, just things that could possibly be repurposed from whatever.
Yeah, an amount of tape that can be used to fix.
I thought that was one thing that was nice in the adventure that you were in, the ML and Hall adventure, was that there was that med bay that had equipment, and we were able to take that equipment and use it to try to do things.
Yeah, you guys used it to take off your collars, didn't you?
To decollar ourselves.
That was epic, honestly. Yeah, let's see. I think I'm losing track of the chat here. How about the decom room? There was the body of a maintenance worker. Next to pipes or shut off tool. Yeah, and then
I like the idea of they're having the tool somewhere. I just want to. To me, think it's more fun if you put it somewhere else, and it kind of rewards finding that in a different place. And then if you have it when you get down there, it gives you another access. Not necessarily makes it impossible to do anything else, but just it's like, okay, I found this somewhere. As opposed to
what do we so then do we need to have more environmental suits in the in the decom room? Like, does that make sense?
I don't know. I mean, I just thought I'm always hey, just roll a die for it. But if you feel like it is one or two, that's fine.
Yeah, I think that's fine. Yeah. we again, we'll leave it there. I think we got so many ideas now, and I think we are kind of getting at sort of the top of the hour here. How much long did you want to go? I think we've got enough
Um,
in either case to
okay.
like
And then I
flesh out
think you
this
could just
adventure.
add that also the tentacles or the boss monster's tentacles can also rip suits or masks or
Oh, I
whatever they
love
are. Could
that.
also
Yes, living vines pull people in and tear their environmental suits. Yes, I love it.
cool.
This is a very cool boss fight and final floor. I think we've fleshed out the mechanical room as well. I don't know how much more we want to get done, and
All
how
right.
much more we can expect to
Well,
get done here.
if you're feeling good, that's good enough for me.
Yeah, I don't know. What do you think, Trader? Or any last or any final words?
Does the boss
Any
monster
more
have
suggestions?
thorns on its tentacles? That's a fair
Mm,
question.
yes, I think it should. Living vines, tendrils range near. I'll say with
I mean, the picture
thorns.
does. If you're gonna match
Yep.
the picture, the picture's got them. Cool, 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 cool.
This is a fun little project. Piecing together a one shot like this over the course of 3 streams. It's a it's a each one was definitely special, right? And we had a lot of ideas, and to see it all come together, feed me, Lewis. You got it, Trader. um, anything else you want to add, Todd?
I don't think so. I did put the link to the Kickstarter. Do you want to go through a little bit before we go?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, we could. I mean, I don't know if you want to pull it
Anything
up.
you
If you
want
want to
to
look through
mention
it, what do
about
you?
it? Let's see, it's 10 days to go. It
10 days
has
to go.
funded. Congratulations on
Yeah.
that.
Thank you so much. Trying to think here. We've unlocked some really cool content. We can talk about that. For instance, we had some stretch goals. So we've unlocked things like character pregen cards that you can now add as add-ons. In your cart. So we're going to be doing up to 10 of those, which I'm really excited for. We just unlocked the digital zine of the Marché Noir that I'm currently working on developing, which should see us add a ton of kind of really really cool stuff to the game, right? Sort of as an expansion, if you will. Unofficially, I suppose, things like energy weapons, a bunch of new gear, equipment, armor, um, a brand new role called the Freeloader, which I'm excited for. All sorts of auxiliary tables. I'm currently looking at maybe putting together like some D66 tables for mission generation, stuff like that, and more. Yeah, we've got a game jam set as the next stretch goal. So if we can reach $9,000 Canadian, which is probably around 7,000 or so USD, then we'll be hosting a game jam, and I'll be setting aside a portion of the funds, to entice folks, in different categories, maybe 3 to 5 categories for the game jam, and there's even more stuff in the works in the background. We're kind of constantly plugging away at this stuff. So obviously, if you're watching, check it out, and back it or don't back it. We just want to thank you for being here, and I want to thank you, Todd, obviously, for being such a great friend of the Dungeons Key, for having me on your channel again, and for always wanting to and looking to collaborate with me, because you're an all star, honestly, and
Well, I'll
a real
take it.
pro in the biz.
I'll take it. Well, thanks so much for having me. It's been great. I can't wait to see it in more finalized form. And like I said, congrats again on the Kickstarter. I know my voice has suddenly abandoned me. Congratulations, everything. I'm sure we'll see more about it. I look forward to the jam and everything else associated as you keep knocking
Yes.
those stretch goals out
And
of the
thank you
way.
to your chat and your audience, and for everyone who participated, Traderer and the rest of the folks who joined us. A lot of fun. Always great to crowdsource something like this and get the audience involved, get
All right.
the players involved.
Well, thanks everybody. Keep following along with the Dirtbags journey, and if it seems like something you like, and I've posted other stuff on my channel about it, and I am biased, but I had a ton of fun playing through it. You got the Kickstarter link. All right, Jean-Luc, I'll talk to you soon, everybody. Game on, and I'll talk to you later. Bye now.